So yes, welcome to a very special episode of the Film Frequency. Ross and I have just finished watching the final episode of Loki. I just finished it about 40 minutes ago, and Ross finished it maybe 10 minutes
Like
ago,
five,
so 5 minutes ago.
like
Uh,
5 minutes ago.
so we thought we'd do something different, show our faces, maybe throw this up on the YouTube, and just chat about what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, and what we think's going to happen next in the MCU. So yeah, Ross, initial thoughts as you come off the back of it. The episode as a whole, how do you think? What do you think about the whole episode? How it played out?
Um, yeah, I quite liked it. I think it resolved an awful lot of things while also opening that big door, I guess,
Mm,
at the end, which is where the MCU is going to go from here. We know, and we've known for a while since we've seen that slate of movies that's coming up, that the multiverse is where we're sort of taking this next, right? And we were sort of, it's been hypothesized about how that's going to come about. I know an awful lot of people thought that it was going to be something with Wanda,
mm,
that she was going to do something. But to have it introduced in this way, I was pretty impressed with it. It wasn't initially what I had envisioned. Um, I thought it was interesting. Like I said, it was nice that we've got the introduction of one of the big sort of MCU villains in
mm.
Kang the Conqueror, or what was his name in this? Like He Who Remains, or
He Who
something like that.
Remains, yeah,
That
different
was the
difference.
variant that we had, but obviously then you have the various different variants. And I guess we'll maybe talk a bit more about him in a couple of minutes. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the series. I picked as the series went along, I enjoyed it more. Initially, I was a bit so with it, but
Hmm.
as it went along, I found myself enjoying it more than I thought I did.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a big fan throughout. I think my favorite episode was the last one, Journey into Mystery. Just that big bit at the end, and
Yeah,
having who was it? Richard E. Grant as like classic Loki. I
that was
thought he played that
fantastic casting. It
fantastically.
really was.
Yeah, yeah. The ending of that was very like very superhero-y, very we're gonna save the day and hold each other's hands and
Mm.
defeat the big. But it worked. It was one of the moments I was like, my I'm suspending my disbelief as far as I can go here, and I'm thinking, it's a wee bit crass, but no, I'm a huge fan. I think it's really hard to do like different timelines, alternate realities, and I do think they've managed to do this pretty well. The way they've done it with this, there was something Kevin Feige said that he wanted to do it like it's almost like it's a specific type of drama they use. It's the way what do you call it? One Division was based off a sitcom, and then this is based off a procedural drama. So
Okay,
it's like
yeah,
it's
that makes
yeah,
sense.
based around like people working in offices and like
Whereas I
clerical
guess
work.
Falcon the Winter Soldier's kind of more of a buddy cop
Yeah,
sort of vibe, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
yeah, but yeah, I'm. It was crazy the way they've introduced this multiverse. I like you. I did think it was something that was going to come along with WandaVision, and I'm quite happy the
Mm.
way they've done it here. I like that they give them a choice. I'm happy this wasn't
Yep.
something that was just pushed upon the characters of the MCU, but like there was a big part of that episode was about their choice and whether they truth I suppose plays a big thing into Loki as a character, and they kind of played with that pretty well in terms of what they believed and what they believed would happen. Um, yeah.
What did you think in general about sort of, well, some of the characters, like the introduction of Sylvie
Mm.
into the mix? I thought it was really interesting that you have this character that I think it's Mobius says something, I think it was the last episode, maybe the episode before, but it's so interesting that the whole premise of Loki is that he's so sort of invested in his own goals and his own aims that he's willing to backstab anyone.
Mm.
That it's really ironic to me the fact that the one person who manages to change that is just a different version of himself,
Mhm.
and that's like the one person who makes him sort of change his mind into a more sort of, yeah. I thought that was really interesting because I think Mobius says something like, "How narcissistic can you get that you fall in love with yourself?" And it's so true. But I thought she was a really good introduction as a character, and I'm looking forward to seeing her more going forward.
Yes, Sophie Di Martino. I looked her up on IMDb, and I don't think she's done much else. I think a couple of Instagram posts ago, she was promoting one of her short films she did just before she got the Loki role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was interesting. A lot of people on, I think a lot of people online on Twitter I saw today are like disgusted that they kissed. I was like, I can understand because it's like you're kissing yourself, but in the context of
I
the
don't.
show, I think it works really well, and I think it's
I
good.
think it works well. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so some of the other characters, Owen Wilson, of course, is probably the biggest name in the whole show.
Yeah.
Even still, probably even bigger than Tom Hiddleston as an actor, historically anyway. What did you think of him as Mobius?
I really liked him. I was expecting there to be some sort of big twist about him
Mm,
at some point. Like I remember I read somewhere about the fact that wouldn't it be interesting if like all of that he turned out to be just another variant of Loki. He was another Loki,
yeah.
and they were all sort of. I thought that was what was coming, or
Mm,
there was just going to be something, or maybe that he was going to be like revealed as the big bad, or something in some way or shape or form. But the fact that he was just sort of like this regular dude just seemed to be. I thought that was quite a nice bait and switch because you assume when it's an actor of that caliber that you're
mm,
going to have like a really high profile role for them, and the fact that he wasn't at the minute given that, I guess
yeah.
I thought that was quite. And I think he did very very well in the role as well.
Yeah, so I suppose I don't know if we get on to the fact that there will be a second series now. That was kind of
Mm.
revealed at the end because I do think his character. I would love for the arc of his character to end up where he goes back. There's all talk about him and his love for like speedboats. I just want
Yeah.
to see Owen Wilson on a speedboat at some point in the series. Hopefully, we'll see it at the end of season 2. Uh, Elsewhere, we have Gugu. We were talking about her name, Gugu Mbatha Raw,
Yeah,
and
I think so.
also Wunmi Musaku, Sasha Lane. There's some art house actors, I would say, that have come through, especially with this, into the mainstream. Wunmi Musaka, I saw her in His House earlier in the year, and she was, of course, in Luther and a couple of other things. Sasha Lane was in an A24 film. Was it Honey? Honey's one of their A24 ones. She was a big actress in that. And then Gugu Mbatha Raw, I know from Black Mirror. That's where I saw her
That so
first.
I was because we were talking there about what she's like. We were talking about her name and stuff before we
Mm,
came on here, and I was thinking like, where was the first time I saw her? And initially I was like, it's San Junipero, that episode of Black
yeah.
Mirror, but it's actually not. At least for me, anyway.
Mhm.
She played Martha Jones' sister in Doctor Who, and I
Oh,
was like, that is an incredible pull from the archives
that
right there.
is.
I was like, what? Like she was a doctor, and then she was like Martha Jones, I guess, had a sister at one point, and she's in it for like 4 or 5
That's mad,
episodes,
yeah. Tish
which I
Jones.
thought was crazy.
That's amazing, yeah. Yeah, they were all brilliant. I think her character, I'm interested to see where. Obviously, the
Where she
series,
goes from
yeah,
here.
the episode ended off. Before we get on to Kang, the episode ended off much like many first seasons will, where it's different characters in different locations. What did you think about Loki returning? So he's obviously in an alternate reality now when he comes back to the
Hmm.
TVA. So it's a reality where Mobius didn't meet him, I presume. I'm not
Yeah,
quite sure going off that the
I
last of that
think
episode,
so.
but yeah.
Or at least it seems to be a reality. But then it flicked to the statue of He Who Remains
Mhm.
sitting where the Timekeeper statue used to be. So there's
Yeah.
something has happened in that universe that maybe he's there. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Mhm. So you were just chatting to me earlier about Jonathan Majors, of course, was revealed as Kang the Conqueror, although not by name yet.
Hmm.
What did you think of his performance?
Um, I it wasn't what I was expecting. He was sort of. It was almost like he was trying to go for like the whimsical sort of, like agent of chaos that Loki was in the
Yeah.
original sort of movie. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. But then I guess it's maybe just requires a bit more time with him as a
Hmm.
character. But for me, I was actually a little bit disappointed. I think, like, don't get me wrong, like I'm a big fan of his from. You said yourself you really like that A24 movie that he's in, but for me, my big thing with him is his character in what's it called,
Lovecraft Country?
Lovecraft Country,
Hmm.
like and which we also sadly found out the last week that we're not
Yeah,
getting a
unfortunately.
sequel to, which kind of sucks.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I don't know what I was expecting from him, but it wasn't what I got, and I didn't. I don't know. I'm willing for him to go a different way. The only thing I'm hoping is that if he's going to be playing variants of himself, that the
Yeah.
next variant that he plays, which will be Kang, like actually Kang the Conqueror, in Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yeah.
He's listed as an antagonist for that. I think the version of that he plays maybe is a bit different, or maybe a bit. more enticing. I don't know.
I've got a feeling it'll be like vastly different. Because
Yeah.
at the same time, I wasn't wanting the door to open and it being like that kind of Thanos, esque, like really like brash bad guy type. So I was when they opened and he was like sitting eating the apple. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I enjoyed it. What I really liked about it is, and I talked to Mark. Me and Mark talked about this before about television and movies and storytelling in television and movies. But I like that we got to sit with him for like
Mm,
probably like 20, 25 minutes that he was on screen. Like he's probably on screen in this one episode more than nearly Thanos is. In like
yeah.
probably his in Infinity War, and you get to kind of get to know the character a bit more, and obviously they did the whole explaining bit with the wee he had like made a wee model thing, which I thought was quite interesting.
I
But
thought that was quite cool. I really
yeah,
like that.
it's a great way to do a lot of
Absolutely.
explaining in a very short period of time. Um, which yeah, what do you think about along the lines of? There's the big talk now. We haven't even chatted about the end of Black Widow, where of course, what do you call her character? The Seinfeld girl,
Yes, Julia Louis
Louise Dreyfus
Dreyfus.
shows up. So,
She's sort of. I think what they're gearing up for that is that she's setting up her own team, which is like
mm,
a dark version of the Avengers,
dark,
or like
yeah.
it's Junior Avengers or something.
Hmm.
So she's, like I said, she has Florence Pugh from Black Widow. She already recruited. We saw at the end of Captain of Falcon and the Winter
Hmm.
Soldier. She recruited John. What's his surname?
John Walker.
John Walker. She recruited John
Yeah, he's
Walker
called
from
like the agent or something. Is that his
yeah, US agent. So he's
U.S.
sort of like
agent?
a more badass version of
Yeah.
Captain America. There's also talk that you might see a comeback, and I guess with the different multiverse, this might be the thing. You'll see a comeback of Wanda's two kids, so like the
Ah.
Wiccan, and then I can't remember what. So that's like the little boy. There's one, there's one of them that's the
Hmm.
sort of magical one, and then there's the one who's like the speedster.
Yeah.
Between, so you're gonna likely see those back. So they're building up to sort of like a young Avengers, I guess,
Mhm.
kind of thing that's coming from her. So that'll be quite interesting to see. And I think what they're more gearing up for there, certainly at the end of Black Widow, is the Hawkeye TV series, which is coming.
Yeah.
I'll down the pipe.
So the reason I brought that up is, what do you think about the fact that viewers? I mean, for me and you, we'll have watched the shows before the films. But what about the fact
Mm.
that a lot of the new Marvel stuff, you kind of have to have watched the TV shows to know what's going on in the movies? Like, would you like? Do you think watching on as Kang the Conqueror goes on, and his actions are seen over this next phase? Do you
Yeah.
think? Yeah. Do you think it'll act in a way that everyone will have to have watched Loki. Everyone will have to
I
have watched
think
Captain
it
America.
almost seems that's what they're going for, right? Because it's with the difference before sort of the MCU was taken over by the MCU TV series were taken over by Kevin Feige. What you had was like it was always sort of alluded to. So in Agents of Shield, which isn't canon anymore anyway, but Agents of Shield and like the Daredevils and all that sort of stuff, it's always alluded that they keep talking about the event in New York, which is
Yeah.
obviously the first Avengers movie and stuff. But no, yeah, you're right. It's like it's really interweaved to the point that you have to sort of see it. But I think, I mean, having watched Black Widow, you could enjoy that movie without having any knowledge
Yeah.
of the TV show at all. That's what everyone I've spoken to about it have said, that if you're one of these sort of people who sits around for the post-credits scene, if you haven't seen the TV shows, in particular Falcon and Winter Soldier, just don't bother. I don't think you need to. But equally, the people who sit around for the post-credit scenes are the people who are watching that sort of stuff anyway.
That's
Do you know
very
what I
true.
mean?
That's very true.
It's just no. I think it's going to be really interesting. The problem is that, in particular, the introduction of Kang the Conqueror has an awful lot of repercussions for the storylines later on. So I don't know. It's a comic book thread, but I don't know if it's technically it could be a spoiler, like a big spoiler,
Hmm.
for where this is coming. Like I don't. Should we talk about that or not? I don't know.
Yeah, mention it anyway. I don't mind about it being spoiled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like even like I mean you can cut this out if you want, but basically the whole thing with Kang the Conqueror is that he is Franklin Richards, who is Reed Richards' father. Reed Richards being Mister
Ah.
Fantastic from the Fantastic
Mhm.
Four. So it's basically the whole story goes is that his dad, Reed's dad, Franklin, is a time um, delves into time travel, and basically then he goes forward to the future of the 31st century or whatever Kang said or that he was. Then so that's nice because then that's going to tie in. I'm wondering if that's going to be a thread that they're going to weave into the story, or whether they're just going to leave that separate, because they can not have these things in there. Like now there's a lot of deviations from the comic books moving forward, like as there has been.
Yeah.
But that would be interesting because then we know the Fantastic Four is coming down the pipeline. That would be a nice way to bring them into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm excited just after finishing it off. What is next in the Marvel? I keep forgetting. Is it Eternals? Is that the next Marvel film?
So, well, first of all, we get, I think it's the Eternals. The Eternals is the next movie that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Or, no, is it Shang-Chi?
I think it's Shang-Chi. I think it's Shang-Chi in September.
Shang-Chi, and then we also have, like I said, we have the Eternals, so that's the two big movies that are coming out. Yeah. But then we also have Marvel's What If, which it's the one I've been most excited for. It's a cartoon and it doesn't really have any bearing on the rest of the stuff we're talking about, but it's easily the one I'm most excited for. But then we also have, like I said, the Hawkeye TV series, which was set up at the end of Black Widow / Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. So there's a lot to come. There really is a lot to come, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see where this leads. We were always there was always skepticism about how they could keep the ball rolling after Thanos and the Infinity Saga, and it's nice to see that with these TV shows, they've really picked it up and just sort of kept running with it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to What If. I'm interested to see if they'll make that like part of the canon, because at this point they could use it as like an alternate timeline where everything's like cartoon, like it just goes into a cartoon world. But
absolutely,
I wouldn't be surprised if they did so.
They should do it. It'd be nice if they were able to incorporate some of that into, because like I said, with the multiverse, the whole point is that it's different versions of the same reality. So you could absolutely fold. I mean, you're probably going to have some of them that are quite difficult. Like one of the timelines involves Black Panther or King T'Challa joining the event, the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is obviously going to be difficult now. But there's other ones there, like I said, with what's it called? There's the Captain America, but it's Captain Britain with Peggy Carter. Yeah, that would be really good. I'd really enjoy seeing that. Or even bringing Killmonger back with Iron Man. That would be fantastic. There's a whole bunch of stuff in that trailer that really whets the appetite for what you would have going forward.
I would just to finish off. I was actually rewatching. Me and my dad have been going through the MCU. It was supposed to be in lead up to Black Widow, but we're a little bit behind in terms of where we should have been in the phase. But we just finished Thor: The Dark World, and there's the ending scene when Thor's battling Malekith and he flies through all the different portals, and he falls through one world and then he's in Asgard and then he's like. He falls through and then he's in the Ice Giants world and stuff. I would really love, like further down the line, I'm not sure they will ever do this, but if there's any sort of big, as they say, this big timeline war, can you imagine a battle sequence through like timelines? And then
that would be really, really good.
Like even like the zombies, the Marvel zombies timeline, like just falling into that for 2 minutes would be amazing. It'd be pretty cool.
That's the only way I can think. That's like the main way I think you can up what we've previously seen before. The other thing as well, which I think would be really interesting, and I'm wondering I don't know how they'd fold this in, but at some point, if it all comes to a culmination with maybe Galactus or something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Because we've had Galactus, we've had a movie form of Galactus, I guess, with the Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer movie, where he is essentially reduced to a giant cloud. Not feeling great about watching that again, but I think at some point they're probably going to weave him in as well. You have him, you have Doctor Doom, which we haven't seen yet. Okay. So yes, Kang is now sort of being set up, but I don't know if he's the overarching big bad of the entire piece. I don't know. I'm fascinated to see where they take it from here.
Same. I would like to see maybe even some characters that they might not think of introducing into the Marvel as like big villains. Like I would hate. We just finished also. Yeah, this week we've watched 2 Marvel films. We saw Iron Man 3, and for the second time I've watched it. Now that you know that Mandarin isn't the Mandarin and he's just Trevor, actor Trevor. You'd be interested if they do something like that, like the Doctor Doom, maybe establish him as a villain through a movie. I wouldn't like them to do it with Doctor Doom, but any sort of masked villain, and then they take the mask off and it's just Jonathan Majors underneath, like
I
pissing
know.
about.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think the only issue with that is that that introduction of the Mandarin went down like a sack of cold sick.
Yeah.
Like it really didn't play very well, to the point that, like I said, Shang-Chi, they're bringing that back, which I'm very excited about.
I'm very excited for that one.
So we'll see. It's a bright times ahead. But out of the three, I guess the one question I had for you is, in closing, was you've now seen the three first wave, I guess, of Marvel TV shows. Where would you rank them in terms of? Because my rankings are very different than what I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I would say Loki first, because I'm a huge fan of time travel anyway, and I'm happy with the way the show played out. WandaVision second. I don't think I'd ever rewatch WandaVision, because I think they maybe spent a little bit too much time in I really loved the way they jumped time periods right the way through. And Falcon the Winter Soldier third. There was a few episodes I just wasn't that impressed with. I really love both those characters. I think they could maybe do a bit of reversion. They could revise the new Captain America suit a little bit. I think it's a little bit too comic-y. Even with normal Captain America, I think I prefer him when he doesn't have his headgear on. It just looks a bit more. I don't know. That's a small issue. But so that would be my three: Loki, WandaVision, and Falcon the Winter Soldier. Okay. What about you?
So if you had asked me 6 months ago, before we'd seen any of these, what are going to be my three?
Yeah,
I would have said the exact same order that you've just said now. As they've now come out, completely flipped for me. So I found myself enjoying. I didn't enjoy Loki as much as I thought I was going to. Like overall, I really liked, like you said, last episode where it's the multiple different versions of Loki, and that was what I thought I was going to be getting from the series, more of that.
Yeah.
So I was a bit disappointed in that respect. But for me, I really got into Falcon and Winter Soldier. I didn't expect to at all. I was like, that's going to be the bottom of the pile. That's the one I'll watch it, because I'll watch anything that Marvel could stick anything out, slap their name onto it, and I'll watch it. But I wasn't super excited for that, but that was the one that really caught my interest as time went on. And WandaVision, it sits somewhere in the middle. Like, it was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I think you're right. I think it ran a wee bit too long in parts, but I think there was some really interesting things. I really like the inclusion of Monica Rambeau. Like I said, absolutely. But I would maybe, for me, Falcon and Winter Soldier sort of came completely out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. So, that's the way I would put it.
And finally, Hawkeye is next, I think, in terms of the live action stuff. What do you think? We talked on the Arrival podcast, or was it the one before? We mentioned about Jeremy Renner, and you don't want Jeremy Renner on the screen for too long, and you didn't even think he was relevant in Arrival, but
he was absolutely irrelevant in Arrival. He had no bearing in the story whatsoever.
So we're gonna get him for like 6 hours, probably plus, for Hawkeye. I'm excited to see where that goes.
But are we though? That's the thing. Are we though? Because I think it'd be really interesting. Because again, they're sort of setting up the next generation a little bit, almost. So I'm wondering, are they going to actually? Is it going to be a bait and switch where he gets like killed off in the first episode?
That would be cool. Like
that would be real. Like, imagine how cool that would be.
Yeah,
that they kill him off like right early doors, because the whole point was, you saw it in, I guess, Infinity War. No, I guess in Endgame, because he wasn't really in Infinity War, but in Endgame you see him like training his daughter to become to shoot things. And like in the comics, like at the minute, like the character of Hawkeye, the mantle of Hawkeye is taken up by his daughter. I can't remember her surname, but it's but basically that would be really interesting to see. I think that's what they should do. I don't know if they'll do that though, but that would be a really cool, like, oh my god, bait and switch. They just kill them off. Like,
definitely.
Florence Pugh comes in, kills them off first episode, and then for the rest of the next 5 episodes or whatever it is, how long that show is. It's just like her learning to work with his daughter or something like that. That'd be really cool.
That'd be interesting. Yes, so that's us for our quick wrap up on Loki. For All Time Always was the name of the last episode. It's sitting on 9.3 on IMDb at the minute, and I wouldn't be surprised if it stays in and around the 9, because I think most of them have been that, except for episode 3, which was 7.9, so it dropped quite a lot. But yeah, brilliant show, and we're excited to see what goes next with the MCU TV show. See you later. Bye. I forgot we're on this. I have to wait as well.